What's up, guys? Welcome back to another exciting episode of EJ's Press. I am your evocative, provocative, talkative host, EJ, the Big Kahuna. It is so good to be back. I have been on a bit of a hiatus for the last month or two. A lot of stuff came up with work. Working on the book, Cobalt Knights. It ended up having to go over deadline. It's not done yet, unfortunately. I wish it was. Believe you me, I wish I could be done with it, but it is a work in progress still. We're almost to the end. We're slogging through. It's been beating me up a lot, been facing some interesting ideas that came up in there, but we're getting through it. But today is not about that. Today is not about the book. Today is a car rant. I'm ready to get all good and provocative in here. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. Today, I want to talk about this problem that Disney has been having for the past, I'd say probably about 4 or 5 years now. It's a problem that I think every single redheaded kid in school, as a kid, realized somewhere around middle school. They don't have a soul anymore. They have lost what has made them the beloved franchise somewhere down the line, and I think people are starting to realize it. And this has become no clearer than in their live-action reboots of their various animated films. Now, I'll say this, Beauty and the Beast, good movie, well-received. It really preserved the feeling of the old movies. You know, it kept what made Beauty and the Beast a beloved cartoon. Now, granted, I say that never having seen the original cartoon in English. It's a bit of a weird situation. My French high school teacher showed it to us every couple of years in French, kind of as a, hey, how much can you keep up with French conversation and French singing now as you're making progress. It was great. I love the movie in French. Never seen it in English. The live action version with I think it was Emma Watson who played Belle. I could be very wrong on that. I could be remembering it totally differently. Was a good movie. It came out. It was a roaring success. It filled people with a lot of hope moving forward for Disney's live-action franchise, essentially. Unfortunately, that's about where things end, because the next one to come out, I believe, was The Jungle Book. That was fun. I enjoyed realizing that Christopher Walken could sing. I had no idea how much of a talent he had for presenting music. Excuse me. My apologies. Dry throat today. But the rest of the movie was a little bit underwhelming. It was a little bit weird watching, Bagheera and Baloo's lips flap up and down in time with their speech. I wasn't a huge fan of that. And then this year, we have 3 movies come out, 3 live-action Disney movies, all of which just broke my heart to see, because it was Dumbo, Aladdin, and The Lion King. And with the exception of Tarzan and Atlantis, those were probably my 3 favorite Disney movies as a kid. Dumbo, obviously elephants. I love elephants. This is a flying elephant, and there was a bullet train at the end of it. So I love the movie all the way around. Some really good songs in there, and the pink elephant scene was a wonderful thing. Introduce your kids to the wonders of underage drinking and how horrible it is and how weird it can get. Aladdin, I go back to memories of Colorado, where as a kid, we got snowed in. We went up to go skiing in Colorado at a cabin, and we got snowed in for 2-3 days. And the only thing they had to entertain us there was a chessboard and a VHS of Aladdin. So I learned to play chess that day, that weekend, I suppose, and I watched Aladdin about 5 times through. So Robin Williams as the genie, the general feel of that movie, the very vibrant and animated, no pun intended, way the movie was presented struck a chord with me as a kid. I loved it. And The Lion King, well, it's The Lion King, guys. It's Hamlet, for one thing. Or no, not Hamlet. It's Macbeth. Pretty sure it's Macbeth. Yeah, Macbeth. Great, it's one of those two. That's going to bother me all day. I'm going to have to look it up. But it's Shakespeare, classic tale, excellently animated. It's got so much heart, so much character. Timon and Pumbaa, I want two blues guys to follow me around and narrate my life because of that movie. Just looking back and thinking back on the memories. Lion King, we had the special edition on DVD. We had Lion King 1.5 that was from the perspective of Timon and Pumbaa. And that's a favorite of mine as well. But just generally, that world, that story was so good and so excellently produced, especially considering the situation it was in, where Pocahontas was the big money ticket. That's where Disney thought they were going to make their bucks, and Lion King was kind of the side project for the year, where they said, you know what, if you're acting up on Pocahontas, if you're not following the rules the way we want you to, we're going to kick you over to the Lion King. And the movie prospered for it because they had all these wonderfully energetic and excited people with a lot of artistic freedom on the movie, and it soared because of it. And then you come to the new ones. We come to Dumbo in a time where circuses, I don't think, have ever been so unpopular. In a time where we really, really, really don't like seeing elephants anywhere except in the wild. We've kind of, as an American culture at the very least, decided that elephants do not belong around humans, or rather that humans don't belong around elephants. In a time where showing children things like alcohol or tobacco usage, both of which feature in Dumbo, is a big no-no. They decided to rewrite the story. They decided to introduce a bunch of kids to come and rescue Dumbo instead of a mouse. I did not go and see it. I will freely admit right here, actually, I have not seen any of the Disney live-action movies for this year. Dumbo, it looked like they changed too much, and I couldn't take... There was something uncanny about watching this baby elephant with giant ears. In real life, it was easy to do on a cartoon, but in real life, it was jarring. You know, the realistic elephant with huge, with the giant ears, and then the anime eyes they gave him were just terrible. So I couldn't do that. I couldn't watch Dumbo. Aladdin, I'm not a big Will Smith fan, I'll be honest with you, and none of the other cast looked interesting. And what I mean by that is, there are very attractive people of Middle Eastern descent out there. They chose some very bland looking ones. They chose some people who looked very normal, very basic, general, stereotypy versions, instead of going for a more romanticized view, which admittedly Aladdin is a very romanticized view of the Kingdom of Persia. I think it's Persia. Somewhere in the Middle East, in kind of this fairy tale-esque vibe. So again, we should have gone for a romanticized thing, gone for some beautiful people, and they went with kind of bleh people. They went with a villain who did not look villainous. Jafar was this huge, towering, sinister man, and they got kind of a skeevy, pervy little dude. You know, it's like, I get it, you know, he is kind of skeevy and pervy, but he's threatening too, and the guy they cast for Jafar just didn't look threatening. I couldn't buy him. They also got rid of Gilbert Gottfried as Iago. There was no Gilbert Gottfried, and so I just had no desire to see it, because he was my favorite in the old movie. It was Robin Williams and Gilbert Gottfried. So both of them were absent, and they put in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air instead, and I don't like Will Smith. I like his earlier stuff, with probably the exception of Fresh Prince. I like, you know, the early Men in Black. I admit I like Wild Wild West. It's kind of a guilty pleasure movie for me. Not a big fan of his stuff, pretty much post I Am Legend, I think, is probably the last major Will Smith movie I've really gotten into. So that was kind of a turnoff for me. And then The Lion King just came out. I think that was this week that it came out, so I haven't had a chance to see it. But the more I see of it, the advertisements I see, the videos that Disney has put out themselves, snippets and pieces from press releases and news articles about the movie, it looks terrible. It looks very real. And this comes to the crux of the issue. I think The Lion King is the best way to examine that, because it has a ton of character in the animated version. I guarantee you, warthogs don't look like Pumbaa, for one thing. But in general, the animals are so expressive, and they bear such a human level of emotion and interaction and movement too. They move in ways that real animals can't. That translating it to real live action can't work. It cannot look good, or at the very least, it cannot recall well the movements and the actions and the interactions of the characters when your entire cast is animals and you decide to make them look as real as possible. For one thing, everybody looks like they've got mange in this one. They were so devoted to realism that they couldn't even romanticize a real lion. I think Aslan from the Chronicles of Narnia movies looks better. You know, the one played by Liam Neeson looks better than Simba or Scar or Mufasa or any of the lions that I've seen in the Lion King trailers and whatnot for the live action release. It does not look engaging or special in any way. It's been sanded down to be as grungy as possible almost. And then looking at the way that the sounds and the music that they've done. For one thing, the casting, people doing John Oliver as Zazu or Seth Rogen as Pumbaa, they don't have the same energy to their voices that Mr. Bean, what's his name? I'm not going to remember, but the Mr. Bean or, you know what? I've just realized I don't know Pumbaa's voice actor in the animated one. But they just don't have the same vocal energy. Or Billy Crystal. You can't match Billy Crystal's energy. You can't match the vigor that he brings to Timon. And watching I've seen a sequence of Hakuna Matata where, you know, they're dancing and wrestling and running around in the animated version. And in the live action version, it's a single tracking shot on this camera, just slowly backing up as the animals kind of vaguely run circles around each other. It looks terrible. It looks so just distressingly bland. And that's the big problem with these live action releases, is that they're based on animated properties. And I understand, you know what, this was actually what Walt Disney wanted. In his will, there's you know, or when he stepped down, at some point he expressed in a binding way that he wants Disney to re-release their classics every 30 years or so. That he wants them to find a way to update them and bring them to a new audience, with the intent of making sure that everyone continues to fall in love with Disney. The idealist would say, because they're such great stories that everyone needs to hear. The cynic, the realist who you know, can look at Disney and say, wow, they're scuzzy. The cynic says it's because they can make more money this way. But I guarantee you, actually, in this case, I think the idealist might have a point, because there's no way they could make more money doing this, doing the live action versions of things like The Lion King or The Jungle Book, compared to if they did a remaster of the original. Reuse the voice lines. You own those voice recordings. Make sure, just, you know, do some legal stuff. Make sure you can use those voice recordings again and remaster. Either just clean up the brushwork on the old animations, or do Pixar versions. Do like a 3D animation version, or do a new cel-shaded version, something like that, where you can, you know, it might be a little more work than filming human beings, but I guarantee you it's not as much work as creating CGI realistic lions and warthogs. So I guess what it boils down to is the attempt to update and bring these beloved franchises and these beloved characters and stories to the real world has ended up entirely soulless, because the updates are being done in a way that drains the life out of them. the same in a large way goes true for Star Wars, where it's being created now by people who don't understand what makes Star Wars special. Or, and again, this is the cynic talking, and I admit I'm a recovering cynic, so I'm trying to get away from this attitude. But the other line of thinking you could take here is it's people who know exactly what makes Star Wars special and they want to destroy it. Some people hold that view. I think it's about a 50-50 mix, where they either are bringing in people who just don't have the chops, or they're bringing in people who specifically want to destroy it. And I think there's enough press releases and comments from the people involved that I think it's fair to say not everyone in Star Wars is malicious, but some of them are. And some of that seems to be carrying over to these Disney live actions, where it's not necessarily a malicious thing. They don't necessarily want to destroy the Lion King. You know, they're not rubbing their gloved hands in glee saying, oh, today we shall destroy people's memories of, Hakuna Matata. But they are going about it wrong. They are going about it in a way that is not honoring the legacies, in a way that is draining the soul from these stories. I can't imagine as a kid going to see a Lion King movie like the ads I've seen today, going to see that in the theaters, sitting down and leaving excited. I just can't. It looks boring. It looks flat and soulless. This is how you kill things in entertainment. You drain the life out of them. You drain the escapism by making it as real as possible and tie yourself to so many rules that you can't get out of your own way. But that's just my thoughts. This has been a car rant with EJ. Glad you stuck with it this long. If you're still, well, you wouldn't be hearing this if you weren't still here. So thank you for sticking with me. Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. I freely admit, I have not seen these movies I'm commenting on. I've seen the promotional material. I've seen the ads. I've seen reviews and comments and press releases about them. That's what I'm building my impression on, is the general shape of things. It's not based on direct exposure to the movies, but this is why I won't see them. This is why their marketing has failed, essentially. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I bid you all the best of luck in your endeavors. Have a great afternoon, and God bless.